The most recent Truck Series champion has been released from his team. Let's talk about that. How is it going, everybody? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. I know what you guys are thinking. Eric, you don't usually dress like a lumberjack. What's up? Well, it's kind of cold in here and I don't know, I'm just feeling kind of outdoorsy. I don't know, maybe because we're talking about the Gander Outdoors Truck Series or something today. I don't know, but yeah. Couple different things to talk about today, so let's just get right to it. I want to start with a report I saw yesterday. It is just a rumor, but has not been confirmed by anything. I saw it on Reddit first. I don't ever go on Reddit, but I see people tweet these things at me and they end up bringing me to Reddit, so I guess that's where I end up finding some of these. This one seems pretty legit, got some people talking. NASCAR apparently is looking into making some pretty heavy changes to their inspection process for 2019. According to this report, NASCAR is planning to announce a brand new post-race inspection process, a process that will handle most all post-race inspection at the track after the race so that we won't have to wait a couple days for cars to be taken back to R&D. We can get the full report on a car the same day of the race. Presumably this is so that NASCAR and its fans can know whether or not the race-winning car is legal the same day of the race, and we're not waiting 2 or 3 days later to suddenly get some bombshell announcement like has happened a couple times each of the last few years. The most recent example we can point to is Kevin Harvick at Texas just a few weeks back. Wins the race. A few days later we find out his spoiler was illegal. Huge penalty, huge playoff implications, and I think it sounds like NASCAR is hoping to kind of speed that whole process up so that it can be done the same day, so that the report isn't coming so far later in the week that people have kind of forgot about and stuff. They want it to all happen on Sunday if possible. So that's what this report is saying, that NASCAR is planning to announce a process that will accomplish that goal, which I think is kind of cool. During Steve Phelps' State of the Sport address a few weeks back, he addressed this issue and actually said that this was something that NASCAR is looking at, so I can believe that this report is legitimate and that this is very likely to be a new process that NASCAR is going to go forward with in 2019. I'm all for it. If there's a way to speed along the inspection process so that we don't have to wait till Wednesday to know whether the winning car was legal or not, I feel like they should have been doing it all along. My only question is the logistics of it. In years past, NASCAR would send the first and second place finishers and then another random car from the field to the R&D center. That's 3 total cars. That's what we would spend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday waiting to hear back on. I don't know exactly what they do to the cars when they take them to R&D. They say they strip them down, look at the engines, look at more of the pieces more carefully. So what I can assume is that their plan is to take sort of that whole process and condense it into Sunday evening, which, sounds good on paper, but logistically, is it possible? Can the officials still accomplish the same level of detail as they have before? What I'm trying to say is I don't want NASCAR officials to just kind of skip the process and not look at things as closely now just because they're trying to fit it into one day. I don't want, if they do that, it'll be easier for teams to cheat. The current process works because NASCAR is able to take the cars back to R&D. They can take their time to strip down the car, look at a lot of different aspects. If they're trying to squeeze all that into just one afternoon, one evening after the race, where they have to bring all the equipment, to the track, which I don't know how much equipment it is. I don't know how difficult it is logistically. These are just questions I'm raising that I wish somebody would have an answer for me for. That's my only concern, is whether or not they're going to kind of speed up the process so much that they're not going to focus on as many details, and that's going to allow teams to find new loopholes and new ways to cheat. Obviously, NASCAR must have thought this through pretty heavily, but, NASCAR hasn't always thought things through, so I do want to raise that question. Overall, on the surface, the idea of, inspecting cars after the race immediately is a great idea to me. I think that's smart, and I hope it works out, and I hope that's what they end up doing. But yeah, I guess you can basically form your own conclusions with that one. I want to transition to this bit of news that also came out just a couple days ago. Spire Sports and Entertainment Group has come out of nowhere and bought Furniture Row Racing's old charter and are now planning to run a full-time Cup Series team next year. This is a brand new race team forming just now, and they are taking that charter that, Furniture Row lost, the 78 charter. They are taking that and they are turning it into their own number 77 car for 2019. According to NBC Sports, the 77 car will be a Chevrolet. It's unknown whether or not they're going to be affiliated with any other team or not. And yeah, no driver, no sponsor has been announced as of yet, but I just thought that was interesting. A new team is in NASCAR now, I guess. And it's not like they've ever been a team before. I mean, Spire Sports and Entertainment, from what I can tell, is like a marketing, advertising, sort of PR representative firm. I mean, they've had clients like Kyle Larson, so they work on PR stuff and things like that. Kind of random that they're now getting into NASCAR as team owners. Especially they're jumping right into the Cup Series. I don't expect much from this team. Obviously, no driver, no sponsor has been announced, but, to expect them to run better than 30th next year is highly unlikely, but it is interesting that there is a new team kind of out of nowhere. There they are. By owning a charter, however, this assumes that they will race in every single race next year. That's important. They're not going to just be like a part-time team or like a starting park team. No, by owning a charter, that means they plan to race every race next year. So, yeah, random news. Anyway, just wanted to mention that because I figured some people have been talking about it. Now the last thing I want to hit on is kind of a downer, and I might get a little fired up. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. Well, this week had some generally good news. I think the inspection thing is good, and a new team, I guess, is a good thing. There was one pretty big, heavy dose of bad news that came out of the Truck Series earlier this week. Yesterday, Hattori Racing, who is the defending Truck Series championship team, the owners of that 16 truck, announced that they had released driver Brett Moffitt from the team just a couple weeks after winning a championship. Brett Moffitt currently without a ride in any of NASCAR's top 3 series at the moment for 2019, so it's not shocking news, but it is definitely disappointing news. Hattori Racing, I don't know if I'm saying the name right, so I apologize there, faced a lot of financial issues this year. Several points during the season, they almost ran out of money and couldn't keep competing, but they managed to find sponsors to fill roles last minute, had just enough money to run a full-time schedule, obviously won a bunch of races, and won the Truck Series Championship. It was one of the greatest Cinderella stories, honestly, I've ever seen in NASCAR. They made it clear at the end of the season that they wanted to keep Brett Moffitt, but that funding and sponsorship money was going to be important. They needed to find outside partners. Couple weeks into the offseason, clearly they have not made the progress they were hoping for, and that's why Brett Moffitt is gone. Hattori Racing then said that they do have a new driver and sponsor lined up. They have not announced them yet, but apparently they are bringing in a driver who has their own funding and financial backing. So Hattori Racing and that 16 truck will still run next year with a new driver, but unfortunately their championship driver, Brett Moffitt, is currently without a ride at any of NASCAR's top levels. Obviously, this is very sad, very disappointing news. It's reminiscent of, Furniture Row going from the championship in the Cup Series in 2017 to out of business a year later. It's kind of follows in that same negative trail. Now, I've seen a lot of negative reactions to this news on social media from NASCAR reporters, from a lot of NASCAR drivers, mostly people who drive for smaller race teams, critiquing NASCAR for this and defending Brett Moffitt in this case. And it's really disappointing to see that it feels like so many people are just kind of losing hope with NASCAR. And that's fine. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to be negative about NASCAR right now, but you guys know me. I always put a positive spin on things, and this is no different. I think everyone is completely overreacting. Here's the thing about modern NASCAR, and by modern NASCAR I mean basically 2016 to now, and probably for at least the next couple of years. We've talked about this week. NASCAR is too expensive. It's too expensive to run a race team in NASCAR, and with this day and age where the media landscape is so saturated, there's so many different places for advertisers to go. NASCAR isn't inviting enough to attract millions and millions and millions of dollars from tons of sponsors. Sponsorship money across pretty much every form of media is a little bit more limited than it once was. It's probably more so in NASCAR because, as well as the oversaturation of media, NASCAR has declined in viewership a little bit more than a lot of other sports, a lot of other series have. As a result, there's less money in NASCAR today than there was 15 years ago, and teams, drivers, NASCAR itself has been looking at ways to work around that. I'll tell you what, the last few years I've seen more sales for tickets at different racetracks. I still think some tracks, Texas Motor Speedway, are a little too expensive, but still I've seen a lot more deals, a lot more sales. Every year, my ticket to Texas Motor Speedway gets a little bit cheaper. We've seen rules changes NASCAR's made this year with pit guns, with how many men can go over the wall for pit crews, now with engine possibilities going forward. NASCAR has actively been looking at ways to cut costs. But teams have been looking for ways to cut costs as well, and the number one way they've been doing that lately is by dumping large salary drivers in favor of younger, cheaper drivers. We saw Joe Gibbs Racing do this to Matt Kenseth in favor of Eric Jones. We're kind of seeing it now with Stewart-Haas Racing doing it to Kurt Busch in favor of likely Daniel Suarez. It's unfortunate that it has to be that way, but in this kind of age of NASCAR, you gotta find some ways to cut costs. It's gonna happen here and there. And it's a shame that people like Brett Moffitt, who obviously deserves a ride in either the Truck or Xfinity Series next year, it's a shame that it has to happen to people like this. I'm confident Brett Moffitt's gonna end up with the team next year, whether it be Trucks, whether it be Xfinity. I think he will be on a team next year. Will it be a good team? Maybe, maybe not, but I'm confident that he will be on a team to some extent. Still not optimal, and it's not a good thing, but I've seen a lot of NASCAR fans criticize NASCAR, saying you don't even need talent to run in NASCAR anymore. All you need is a rich dad or someone with money. That's all you need. You don't even have to be good anymore. And those are the comments that really piss me off, because there's a few examples of that. Sure, Daniel Suarez, does he deserve the 41 car? I know it's not confirmed, but it seems highly likely. Does he deserve the 41 car based on his Joe Gibbs Racing performance? Probably not, but he's got strong sponsorship support because he is, the only Mexican driver in NASCAR, and that's huge for marketability. So he's likely gonna get that ride. Is Michael Annett in the Xfinity Series really good enough to drive that Junior Motorsports car all these years? No, but he's got the money to do it, so he's gonna stay there. Paul Menard even, did he deserve the Wood Brothers racing car this last year? No, he didn't at all, but his dad owns Menards, so he's got the money, so he's gonna go there and get the top ride. There's always gonna be a little bit of that. I've criticized NASCAR in the past for being too, family oriented. I mean, think about the family history in NASCAR, you need connections, you need inside connections to get into NASCAR. NASCAR already is not very accessible when compared to other sports. Part of the reason basketball, football, soccer are so popular around the world is because it's accessible. You can go to any high school. All you need for soccer is a ball and like a couple trees to mark as goals. That's all you need to start playing soccer. NASCAR or any sort of auto racing, you need a car. And cars are expensive. NASCAR already is not accessible. I've criticized it before. You got the freaking Waltrips, the Earnhardts, the Allisons, the Elliots, the Labontes. I mean, think about how many father, son, brother, family combinations there are in NASCAR. It's so many. It's insane how many there are because they have connections. So, Dale Earnhardt Jr. got opportunities that he probably wouldn't have had except for the fact that his name was Earnhardt. It's just the truth of it. It's always been here in NASCAR. So we can be mad about Brett Moffitt. We can be mad about the state of NASCAR. You don't even have to be good to get a top ride. And you can be mad about that. Sure, it's not good. But I want to remind you of a lot of the young drivers in the sport right now, up and coming, talented young drivers in the sport that have earned their rides, in my opinion. Let's just look in the Cup Series side. Kyle Larson, one of the best dirt racers around. Ask anyone. One of the best dirt racers around. Kyle Larson earned that ride. In fact, he probably even deserves a better ride than the one he has right now. Look at Eric Jones. He got discovered when he beat Kyle Busch head-to-head in the Snowball Derby many years ago. He earned that ride. William Byron won a bunch of races his first year in the Truck Series, won the championship his first year in the Xfinity Series. Yeah, he's earned a Hendrick ride. Alex Bowman filled in for Dale Jr. in 2016 and almost won Phoenix, led the most laps in that race. He earned a ride in the 88 car. Hell, even Daniel Suarez won an Xfinity championship just 2 years ago. So it's not like he has no talent. I could go on and on with these young guys. The truth is, if you're mad that Michael Annett's still with Junior Motorsports, or you're mad because Brett Moffitt lost his ride for some scrub who has money, there's still plenty of young guys out there to root for. I just named a whole bunch. Not to mention the veterans out there that I'd say earned their stripes. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch. You're gonna tell me those guys aren't talented? Jimmy Johnson? And the truth is, talented drivers who've been here a little while, like Kyle Busch, have kept sponsorship. M&M's, Mars Candy, sponsor the crap out of him. Jimmy Johnson had Lowe's for 20 years and now he's signed Ally. Despite having a terrible year, he's got another full-time sponsor somehow. Even in today's NASCAR, more often than not, if you're a really good driver, you're gonna attract sponsorship and get opportunities. There's always gonna be a few isolated incidents where a driver who maybe doesn't really deserve a ride gets it because he has money, and it's a shame when it affects people like Brett Moffitt, who we all know deserves a top ride. But Brett Moffitt's a special case. Coming into this year, nobody thought that 16 truck with Moffitt, Hattori Racing was going to win the championship. Nobody. That team wasn't even supposed to be financially viable by the end of this season, but yet they somehow put it together, they won races, and they somehow won the championship. It's an amazing story. It's something that, though, we've really not seen in recent modern NASCAR. That whole situation is a special case, and in my opinion, should not shape your entire worldview of the state of NASCAR. Obviously, NASCAR needs to make budget cuts. That's why we talked just a couple days ago about a proposed budget cap that NASCAR could be looking at implementing on a bunch of NASCAR race teams going forward to help try and save money and cut costs. Once NASCAR is able to cut costs by a pretty significant margin, it's going to take a pretty significant, budget cut. Then, once again, the top drivers will always get the top opportunities and we'll be back to what everybody wants. NASCAR by far still has most of the best stock car drivers in the world, arguably some of the best just race car drivers in the world, and they're in no danger of losing that title. It's gonna take a lot more situations like Brett Moffitt's to make me think otherwise. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean like 40 other situations, like half the field is going to need to be like what happened to Brett Moffitt. But right now, we still have a lot of great drivers with good sponsorship, with good opportunities, competing. Nothing's changed. Anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest. Obviously, it sucks for Brett Moffitt. He's going to land somewhere. Hopefully, he's able to land in an Xfinity or a truck ride, and hopefully, he's going to be able to land in pretty good equipment. But it just is the way it is. I hate it for him, but it won't be the last time it happens, and it's not the first time that's happened. Anyway, guys, I think I made my point pretty clear. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a lot of fun making these videos, continuing to upload a ton. Yeah, thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, those are down below, or you can sponsor the show on Patreon, like Michael Harrison, at GWiz of the Stars, Cameron James, Tice Moore, Mentally Defective, and the rest of these amazing, amazing sponsors. We continue to add more Patreon supporters every week, and gosh, it helps me out so much. You too can become a sponsor. You check out that top link down below and support me directly. I really appreciate it. Thanks for doing that. P.O. Box as well. You can check out that address down below. Send me cool NASCAR stuff, and I'll show it off and shout you out in a future video. So take advantage of that as well. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys again really soon. Probably sooner rather than later. Bye, y'all.